Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth.
Of a former drug trafficker, the FBI created and distributed its own version called Anam.
Innocent families. From Ohio.
Yesterday, we learned the FBI is launching a civil rights investigation into the raid, and today we're getting a better idea of what that investigation will look like.
At 11:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Federal Bureau of Investigation issues a classified operational directive to every field office in the Midwest. The message is 3 words long. Ohio is compromised. Not by foreign terrorists, not by lone wolf extremists, but by something far more dangerous. A Mexican cartel network that doesn't just operate in Ohio, it owns Ohio. And the man who gave them the keys is a sitting state senator named Marcus Dryland. Over the next 72 hours, federal agents will execute the largest coordinated takedown in Midwest history. They will seize $2.8 billion in fraudulent assets. They will recover 14 tons of cocaine, 9 tons of fentanyl, 2.1 million fentanyl pills, and 6 tons of methamphetamine. They will dismantle 47 front companies, expose 19 state officials, and arrest over 300 cartel operatives. But what they discover buried inside encrypted servers will shake the foundation of American democracy. Because this is not just a drug empire. This is a political fortress built with taxpayer money, protected by corrupt law enforcement, and designed to turn Ohio into the permanent logistical heart of Mexican cartel operations across the entire eastern United States. And it almost worked. This is the story of how close we came to losing an entire state. And trust me, what you're about to hear gets worse with every sentence. 4:32 a.m. Columbus, Ohio. The streets are silent. A thin fog rolls through the short North District, clinging to brick warehouses and empty loading docks. Neon signs flicker over shuttered bars. The only sound is the hum of streetlights and the distant rumble of freight trains heading south toward Cincinnati. But beneath that silence, something is moving. 84 federal agents. FBI, DEA, ICE, Homeland Security Investigations, Ohio State Highway Patrol, SWAT. They move in 5 separate strike teams, each assigned to a different target across the Columbus metro area. No sirens. No lights. Just shadows in black tactical gear, night vision goggles glowing green in the darkness. At exactly 4:32 a.m., all 5 teams breach simultaneously. Target 1, a luxury car dealership on the northeast side that hasn't sold a single vehicle in 18 months, but processes over $11 million a month through its books. Target 2, a sprawling logistics warehouse near the Port Columbus International Airport, marked as agricultural equipment storage, but packed floor to ceiling with shrink-wrapped cocaine bricks. Target 3, an upscale restaurant chain headquarters in downtown Columbus, where the basement server room contains more encryption hardware than most tech startups. Target 4, a residential compound outside Westerville, 12 acres, guarded gates, infrared cameras, and an underground tunnel system connecting 3 separate mansions. Target 5, a migrant services nonprofit operating out of a converted church on the south side, where human trafficking victims are processed, documented, and shipped to cartel safe houses across the Midwest. The breaches are violent and fast. Flashbangs explode through reinforced doors. SWAT operators flood into dark hallways, red laser sights cutting through smoke. At the logistics warehouse, cartel enforcers try to run. One man sprints toward a back exit, clutching a duffel bag stuffed with cash. He makes it 4 steps before an ICE agent tackles him to the concrete. Inside the warehouse, agents find 4.2 tons of cocaine hidden inside industrial farming equipment, labeled as tractor parts bound for Michigan. They find 1.8 million fentanyl pills, vacuum-sealed inside fake fertilizer bags. They find $9.7 million in cash, stacked inside steel shipping containers marked as charity donations. But that's not what stops the lead agent in his tracks. What stops him is the wall. A massive digital operations board mounted in a hidden control room behind a false storage closet. On that board is a live map of Ohio. Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo, Akron, Dayton. Every major city is marked. Every interstate highway is color-coded. Every warehouse, every tunnel, every safe house, every police precinct, every border patrol checkpoint is labeled with GPS coordinates and real-time status updates. And in the top right corner of the screen, flashing in red letters, is a single code name. Project RUSTBLT. The agent pulls out his phone and calls FBI headquarters in Washington. "Sir," he says quietly, "we're going to need a lot more people." 9:14 a.m. FBI Cyber Forensics Division. Cincinnati Field Office. 47 analysts are crammed into a windowless operations center, eyes locked on wall-mounted monitors displaying cascading lines of decrypted data. They've been pulling files off the seized servers for the past 4 hours. And what they're seeing is not a criminal organization. It's a parallel government. The cartel network operating in O. IO is structured like a Fortune 500 corporation. Shell companies, ghost LLCs, offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, Panama, and Luxembourg. Fake nonprofits registered as migrant advocacy groups, homeless shelters, addiction recovery centers, and green energy contractors. Restaurant chains that launder money through inflated food supply contracts. Trucking companies that move narcotics disguised as furniture shipments, construction materials, and medical supplies. Real estate holding firms that purchase foreclosed properties in cash and convert them into drug stash houses and human trafficking transit hubs. And at the center of it all, controlling every transaction, every shipment, every bribe, is State Senator Marcus Draylen. His digital fingerprint is everywhere. Encrypted emails authorizing logistics routes. Signed contracts funneling state infrastructure grants to cartel-owned construction firms. Bank transfers moving millions of dollars from Ohio taxpayer funds into offshore accounts controlled by Mexican cartel operatives. One analyst pulls up a document labeled Phase 3 Expansion Protocol. It's a 5-year plan to expand cartel control from Ohio into Pennsylvania, Indiana, Michigan, and West Virginia. To establish permanent drug distribution networks in every Midwest metropolitan area. To embed cartel operatives inside state legislatures, city councils, police departments, and federal border stations. The lead investigator leans back in his chair and exhales slowly. "This isn't corruption," he says. "This is command-level collusion." Another agent looks up from her screen. "Sir, you need to see this." She pulls up a financial ledger. It shows $2.8 billion in fraudulent transactions over the past 6 years. State construction contracts awarded to cartel-controlled firms that never completed a single project. Federal COVID relief funds rerouted into ghost companies that existed only on paper. Medicaid fraud schemes billing the government for fake addiction treatment centers that were actually cartel money laundering fronts. Homeland Security grants for border security equipment that was purchased, resold, and pocketed by cartel logistics coordinators. And every single transaction was approved, signed, or expedited by officials connected to Senator Draylen. The investigator stares at the screen. How long has this been going on? The analyst scrolls through the timeline. At least 8 years, maybe longer. He closes his eyes. Then we're not just taking down a cartel, we're taking down a state-sponsored drug empire. And this is only the beginning. Because what they find in the next 12 hours will reveal that Ohio wasn't just infiltrated. It was redesigned. 5:47 a.m. The following day. Joint Task Force Command Center. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Dayton, Ohio. A massive digital map covers the entire back wall of the command center. Ohio is lit up like a battlefield grid. 73 red markers pulse across Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo, Akron, Youngstown, and Dayton. Each marker represents a confirmed cartel asset. Drug superlab, money laundering front, human trafficking safe house, migrant smuggling corridor, corrupt police precinct. And every single one is connected back to Senator Draylen's network. Standing at the head of the room is the FBI Deputy Director for Midwest Operations and the DEA Special Agent in charge for Ohio. Behind them are representatives from ICE, Homeland Security Investigations, the U.S. Marshals Service, and Ohio State Highway Patrol. The Deputy Director taps the mic. At 600 hours of their first phone. He gestures to the market. He hit every location simultaneously. No warning, no negotiation, move fast, move hard, and do not stop to listen. He looks around the room. Over 1,000 federal agents are standing there. 52 SWAT teams, 15 black police, armored vehicle units from the Ohio National Guard, U.S. Navy Maritime Station assets monitoring Lake Erie for cartel smuggling boats. And if we need air superiority, we've got F-15 fighter jets on standby out of Toledo Express Airport. He pauses. This is not a raid. This is an eradication operation. At exactly 6:00 a.m., the operation launches. Cleveland, SWAT teams breach a luxury penthouse in downtown where cartel financial officers are running a cryptocurrency laundering operation. Agents seize $47 million in Bitcoin and arrest 11 operatives. Cincinnati, DEA and ICE agents storm a sprawling drug superlab hidden inside an abandoned factory near the riverfront. Inside, they find 3.1 tons of fentanyl in powder form, lab equipment capable of producing 500,000 pills per day, and 12 Mexican nationals working as chemists. Toledo, federal agents raid a trucking company operating along the I-75 corridor. They discover a fleet of refrigerated trucks used to smuggle narcotics and human trafficking victims between Ohio and Michigan. Hidden inside false compartments are 2.8 tons of cocaine and 19 undocumented migrants locked inside freezing cargo holds. Akron, a tactical unit hits a residential compound where cartel enforcers are living under fake identities. A brief firefight erupts. 2 suspects are wounded. Agents recover 17 assault rifles, $3.2 million in cash, and encrypted communication devices linked directly to cartel command in Mexico. Youngstown, ICE agents raid a migrant services nonprofit that's actually a front for human trafficking operations. Inside, they find 43 women and children being held in locked rooms, falsified immigration documents, and ledgers showing over 600 victims processed through the facility in the past 2 years. Dayton, federal agents take down a network of cartel-owned bars and nightclubs used to distribute methamphetamine and recruit money mules. They seize 1,900 pounds of meth, $8.4 million in cash, and arrest 32 cartel members. By noon, the numbers are staggering. 14 tons of cocaine, 9 tons of fentanyl, 2.1 million fentanyl pills, 6 tons of methamphetamine, $127 million in cash, 318 arrests. But it's not over. Because the worst part isn't what they found in the streets. It's what they found inside the system. 2:33 p.m. FBI Evidence Processing Center, Columbus, Ohio. Investigators are combing through seized hard drives, emails, financial records, and internal communications from compromised law enforcement agencies. And what they discover is a nightmare. Senator Marcus Draylen didn't just enable the cartel. He embedded them inside the state's police force, border security, and judicial system. Over the past 6 years, Draylen funneled cartel bribes to 42 law enforcement officials across Ohio. Patrol sergeants, border agents, deputy sheriffs, police captains, even a sitting county prosecutor. They were paid between $15,000 and $90,000 per month to look the other way, to falsify patrol reports, to leak raid schedules, to shut down highway checkpoints when cartel convoys were moving product, to delay arrest warrants for known cartel operatives. to sabotage federal investigations by contaminating evidence or losing case files. One internal email recovered from a police captain's laptop reads, Convoy ETA 300, Route 71 South, shut down way station for maintenance inspection. No patrol units between exits 98 and 112. Confirm receipt. The email was sent 3 hours before a cartel drug convoy moved 800 kilograms of cocaine from Columbus to Cincinnati without encountering a single traffic stop. Another document shows that cartel-linked officers were given real-time access to federal law enforcement databases. They tracked FBI surveillance operations. They monitored DEA undercover agents. They identified confidential informants and passed their names back to cartel hit squads. At least 4 informants were murdered because of these leaks. An FBI agent stares at the evidence wall covered in photographs, organizational charts, and red string connecting names and faces. They didn't just infiltrate law enforcement, he says quietly. They rebuilt it. Another agent nods. This wasn't a police force anymore. It was a cartel security division. By the end of the day, federal agents arrest 19 active-duty police officers, 7 Border Patrol agents, 2 judges, and 1 county prosecutor. They also arrest State Senator Marcus Draylen at his estate outside Columbus. He doesn't resist. He doesn't say a word. He just smiles. Because men like him always believe they're untouchable. Until the day they're not. 8:19 p.m. That same night, FBI Strategic Intelligence Division, Washington, D.C. Senior analysts brief the director of the FBI on the full scope of Project Rust Belt. And the picture they paint is terrifying. Senator Draylen's cartel network wasn't just operating in Ohio. It was using Ohio as the logistical heart for drug distribution across the entire eastern United States. From Columbus, cartel convoys moved narcotics north into Michigan and Pennsylvania. From Cleveland, shipments crossed Lake Erie into Canada. From Cincinnati, drugs flowed south into Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia. The operation moved an estimated 22 tons of narcotics per month without triggering federal alerts. Shipping manifests were falsified. Way stations were shut down for routine maintenance whenever convoys passed through. State highway patrol units were reassigned to different routes during cartel transport windows. And it all ran like clockwork. Because Senator Draylen had used his political power to secure $480 million in state infrastructure contracts for cartel-owned construction firms. Those firms were awarded projects to build new highways, repair bridges, and expand freight corridors. But they never completed a single project. Instead, they used the contracts as legal cover to move equipment, vehicles, and personnel across state lines without suspicion. They used state grants to purchase land for warehouses and safe houses. They used federal disaster relief funds to create fake logistics companies that existed only to launder drug money. And when investigators dug deeper, they found the final piece of the puzzle. A sealed file buried inside Draylen's encrypted server labeled Phase 4, Governance Integration. It's a blueprint. A plan to expand cartel influence beyond logistics and law enforcement. To place cartel-linked candidates in mayoral races. To fund state legislature campaigns with laundered money. To control county election boards and ballot certification processes. To turn Ohio into a permanent cartel-protected zone where organized crime operates not in the shadows, but inside the government itself. One analyst reads the file aloud. This wasn't designed to be temporary. This was designed to be generational. The room goes silent. Because what they're looking at isn't just a criminal conspiracy. It's a hostile takeover of an American state. And if it hadn't been stopped, it would have spread to every state in the Midwest. Here's the truth. Power doesn't always announce itself with violence. Sometimes it just needs silence. And ambition. And a system too broken, too tired, or too scared to fight back. For 8 years, a sitting state senator turned Ohio into a fortress for a Mexican cartel network. He sold infrastructure contracts to criminals. He funneled taxpayer money into drug empires. He corrupted police officers, judges, and border agents. He enabled the trafficking of human beings. He flooded American streets with 14 tons of cocaine, 9 tons of fentanyl, and 2.1 million fentanyl pills that killed thousands of people. And he did it all while sitting in a government office, shaking hands, signing bills, and smiling for cameras. But here's what men like Marcus Draylen always forget. Corruption only works in the dark. And the moment someone turns on the lights, the entire system collapses. The FBI didn't just take down a cartel. They dismantled a political machine built to destroy democracy from the inside. They arrested over 300 cartel operatives. They seized $2.8 billion in fraudulent assets. They shut down 47 front companies. They liberated dozens of human trafficking victims. And they sent a message to every corrupt official, every cartel operative, and every criminal who thinks they can buy their way into American power. You can't. Not anymore. Because the people who protect this country, the agents, the investigators, the whistleblowers, the honest officers who refuse to be bought, they are still out there. And they are relentless. This story is a warning. A reminder that the systems we trust can be turned against us if we stop paying attention. That power unchecked becomes poison. And that silence is not peace, it's permission. So if you're still watching this, tap like so more people see this story. Comment expose if you believe corruption like this needs to be dragged into the light. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because stories like this don't just entertain. They wake people up. And right now, we need more people awake than asleep. Remember, this story is a fictional dramatization, created to illustrate the real dangers of political corruption and organized crime. But the lessons, those are very real. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. And never stop asking questions. Because the moment we stop watching, the moment we stop demanding accountability, that's the moment we lose everything.